Welcome back, everyone, to GGN. Today is Monday, September 16th, 2013. I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.net, and on YouTube, my channels are ddarko2012 and ddarko2013. Thank you for joining me. Alright, I'm going to cover all kinds of news, including the environment and weather and stuff, what's going on. HARP status right now for North America as of today, September 16th, is pretty high, basically in Idaho, Washington, looks like Oregon and Montana, so that's the current long-wave frequency magnitude readings. Rare double whammy storms in Mexico. 21 have been killed. A downgraded Ingrid struck northeast Mexico on Sunday, sparking more evacuations after another storm hit the opposite coast in a rare 1-2 punch that has killed at least 21 people. That area has been harped to death in the last week and a half. Also, they've been aerosoled as well. Talking about chemtrails. Hundreds missing as historic floods continue to ravage Colorado. Rare, historic. This is clearly going to be a historic event, said the National Weather Service director. Says this is a 500 to 1,000 year flood. Ongoing rain in the flood-ravaged state this weekend has forced more evacuations and hampered rescue efforts. Massive floods prompted by record rainfall, which some have called biblical, has swollen creeks and rivers and collapsing bridges and dams and cutting off highways and destroying roads. You can see right there, just a big chunk of it missing. Japan now nuclear-free as last reactor is shut off. So Japan is to start the process of switching off its last working nuclear reactor Sunday for a scheduled inspection, with no restart in sight due to public hostility towards atomic power. We'll see, right? Because they said that they were going to not pursue nuclear power, and then TEPCO, that is, and government officials at TEPCO, and then not even a week later they basically turned around on that promise. And then crippled Fukushima braces for typhoon. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, but the workers at the Fukushima nuclear power plant have braced for a powerful incoming typhoon. They're struggling and failing to keep radiation links from the facility, crippled by the 2011 quake, most likely engineered by HARP or explosives in the fault line. So, thousands flee as a volcano erupts in Indonesia. Nearly 6,000 people fled their homes in the Sumatra Islands after a huge volcanic eruption at the weekend, officials said here. The report scales back global warming. I covered this last week. A change of basically the public stance by the establishment is changing right now from global warming, which was a result of sunspot activity, to and also spraying of aerosols, but that we're going into a cooling period. So it may be that they cannot deny this anymore, that it's going to start getting colder. I just wonder, how long is this going to, how long until it finally gets colder? Because as long as they keep spraying, I noticed, like, they just sprayed the hell out of us this weekend. We're in mid-September here, and we're hitting 80 plus degrees, 85, and I think it was getting towards 85 there, and so they cause the warming when they spray these aerosols that they say is for combating global warming or climate change. But it makes you wonder if they're doing this to prevent it from getting cooler or colder. I mentioned before, though, they could in the future say, see, we were spraying to actually make it warmer because of the oncoming mini ice age, so we were doing it for you. So it says here the temperature rise due to man-made carbon dioxide is lower than their prediction in 2007. Again, so many of the research papers in the last year have come to the same conclusion. Scientists at U of I and Oslo University in Norway found that these levels, what they refer to as ECS, or equilibrium climate sensitivity, says here that they would be lower than the models showed. So this Francis Wyers and others at the University of Victoria, British Columbia, found that global warming was overestimated by 100% over 20 years. Al Gore's 2007 prediction that all Arctic ice would be gone by 2014 is now proven to be alarming fear-mongering. But, he basically explains what they were talking about, the credo by the Club of Rome, which is to get to blame everything as far as natural disasters on humans. So it doesn't really matter, like I said, the human attention span right now is very, very short, so they won't even remember who Al Gore is or that he even promoted CO2. So it doesn't even matter if they keep coming out with this stuff about global cooling and Arctic ice cap is growing. They can still come out with news counter to that that will say that it's humans that are causing this global warming and it's CO2 that's causing the cooling and all this other nonsense. Almost 1 million more square miles of ocean covered with ice than in 2012, so now it's global cooling. Record return of Arctic ice cap as it grows by 60% in a year. This is how ice sheet grew 920,000 square miles in a year. This is August 2012, and this is August 2013. The Northwest Passage from the Atlantic to the Pacific has remained blocked by packed ice all year. More than 20 yachts that had planned to sail it have been left icebound, and a cruise ship attempting to route was forced to turn back. But either way, Russia preparing patrols of Arctic shipping lanes. On Saturday announced an initiative to address climate change, but it had nothing to do with the smokestacks. They plan to sail regular naval patrols along the shipping lanes in its territory in the Arctic Ocean that opened to commercial vessels only in the last few years, and as Arctic ice began melting at a record pace. And, like I said before, it could be that they were just harping the hell out of it. British scientists have collected evidence of alien life from stratosphere from the September 11th. So it says here the astrobiologists believed to have found evidence of alien life after sending a balloon 27 kilometers into the stratosphere. They specifically designed the balloon was sent into the atmosphere above Chester during the annual Perseid meteor shower. On its way back to Earth, the balloon captured small biological organisms on the sterile microscope slides. They say that it represented alien life forms that could have arrived only from space. You've been hearing a lot of these news coming out by scientists about alien life being proven. First one that comes to mind is that humans actually, I think it was life on planet Earth actually came from Mars, being carried by a meteorite, I believe, or asteroid. This is what he's saying. He claims that the seeds of life have been transported from one planet to the other by meteors, which in turn suggests that life exists in other areas of the galaxy as well. This was from basically December of last year. Discovered in Antarctica, ancient life under 60 feet of ice. It's Lake Vita, a salty lake buried under a 60-foot thick sheet of ice in Antarctica, has renewed scientists' hopes of finding alien life in space, even in the most inhospitable places. It's been completely sealed off from the rest of the world for thousands of years. First mechanical gear found in a living creature, according to Popular Mechanics. They say here it's a miniature marvel, a kind of plant hopper insect, and one of the fastest accelerators in the animal kingdom. It says in 2 milliseconds it's bulleted skyward, accelerating at nearly 400 Gs, a rate more than 20 times what a human body can withstand. Body is less than 1/10 of an inch long. And the UK report today in the journal Science says here the issues also the first living creature ever discovered to sport a functioning gear. Jumping is one of the most rapid and powerful things an animal can do, says a zoologist, he says, and that leads to all sorts of crazy specializations. And most of this is recent, from the 15th deadly amoeba found for the first time in water supply. A 4-year-old who died from a rare brain infection in early August led Louisiana health officials to discover that the cause is lurking in the water pipes of the St. Bernard Parish southeast of New Orleans. A single-cell amoeba, called Naglera fowleri, about 1/10 the width of a human hair. Some call it a brain-eating amoeba, although it does its damage by causing a devastating immune reaction rather than actually devouring brain tissue. So they're pumping more chlorine to the municipal water supply, great, huh? To kill the bugs, and advise the parish's 40,000 residents to how to avoid infection. They say the risk is tiny. A new bird flu has unique traits. It says here from Cryptagon, keep in mind work on the weaponized H5N1 is also occurring at this Erasmus University Medical Center in the Netherlands. This is what I've I mentioned too all of this stuff. Bird flu researchers continue to work on engineered virus. Scientists make H5N1 highly contagious, and also that they've been seeing more cases in China as well. It's able to infect both the nose, giving it the potential to spread easily and penetrate deep into the lungs where it causes pneumonia. They say that the twin attack has not been detected in previous bird flus. Meanwhile, a separate study is taking the early steps towards a vaccine for another emerging virus. First, coronavirus. 135 people have been infected with the H7N9 and 44 deaths since the outbreak started in spring. However, restrictions on live poultry markets have largely curbed the number of infections. So does the FDA do. They actually cleared chicken from China now. So good stuff. That's what I'm talking about. USDA to allow China to process chickens and ship back to the U.S. as of September 10th. USDA is privatizing meat inspections with a program that allowed chunks of feces. So it says here that it'll allow the pork plants to use their own inspectors, but it has a history of producing contaminated meat at American and foreign plants. Tiny kidneys are the world's first 3D printed organs living. 2 years ago, they showed the world that human organs could be printed, 3D printed. Now a team from eastern China successfully printed a series of living kidneys. This is a huge step forward for the 3D printed replacement organs. The problem was that these tissues were not vital or living, but they did replicate kidney tissue. Without the ability to create living organs, the 3D printed transplants would have made impossible. That's why this new breakthrough is so important. A stealth coating based on squid skin could make soldiers invisible to night vision. This stealth coating can change the way it reflects infrared light on command. They're around 100,000 times thinner than a human hair. These films that can be switched on and off using a chemical signal. They say here that the researchers claim their coating can be attached to a wide range of surfaces and is a step towards developing a shape-shifting clothing capable of adapting to the environment around it, or the stuff of science fiction. Special operations battlesuit with cooling, embedded computers, radios, and sensors is wanted. That's what U.S. military researchers are asking the industry for ideas on futuristic uniform for warfighters. It may also be powered or unpowered robotic exoskeletons to improve warfighter performance and endurance while enabling the warfighter to operate silently and unseen. NATO is testing an electromagnetic beam to stop suicide bombers. I'm sure they've already tried this before a long time ago. The non-lethal weapon stops vehicles by turning off their engines. We've already heard about this before. It's kind of old news. Basically jams radio signals. Princess Diana killed by bright light shown by SAS onto car. So the SAS soldier confessed to his wife that Princess Diana was assassinated and that a bright light was shown into the Paris car she was driving in. Scientists created new memories by directly altering neurons in the brain from the 13th. These are neurobiologists. We've already covered this before. They're able to create memories in human and other mammals' brains too. There's a study saying that humans have innate numerical sixth sense, or basically psychic abilities. It said when we see a small number of items visually, we don't need to count them, we just know how many there are straight away. So the brain basically was mapping the numbers in one area instead of counting them to come up with a literal number. I think eventually, I was thinking about this over the weekend, as far as coffee goes, and people keep working harder, longer, that they need energy, so that all these energy drinks are popular and stuff, and substitutes, that eventually they'll just have, like chips, that don't just, like it's part of like the Google glasses and that people will have when they're born. They'll have implants, right? They'll have implants in their eyes, and just think about it. If you have things like that, or implants in your ears, super hearing or super sight, eyes never go bad. Think about when you see a cop beating someone on the side of the road, and all of a sudden it says, it just blocks it out. You see a big black block. It was censored out. You're not authorized to see this. But as far as a chip with energy, yeah, they'll give you limitless energy by a little microchip being implanted. Instead of drinking or taking drugs, you just get kind of euphoric trips. UK bioethicists are promoting a second wave of eugenics. So in Lancaster University, they published a discussion paper, Eugenics and the Ethics of Selective Reproduction, focusing on the moral challenges of IVF. Then the FDA is going to hold their first public hearing on genetically modified babies, a 2-day public meeting. But I'm sure the public won't have much of a say. It says here the game changed with the successful birth of at least 30 GMO babies by 2001, many of them developing defects. And with the androgynous agenda of effeminizing men, male menopause, blame it on low estrogen. And they got a pill for that too, testosterone. Thank you.